Greetings everybody, Rakendar here. Welcome back to the channel. Today, got another Legends of Runeterra video for you. And today we're going to be discussing and reacting to the new patch 1.4 notes, as you can see here, the Season of Fortune. I actually kind of lucked out. The patch notes released on one of my usual upload days that I had scheduled. For those new to the channel, first off, welcome to the channel. Hope you guys like some card games. That's what we do here. But the new upload schedule, as I've mentioned in previous videos, is every Tuesday, Friday, and Sunday. And luckily enough, I get to react to the patch notes on a normal scheduled upload day. So that's what we're going to do for today's video. I have not read any of the patch notes this time. In my previous my previous rundown videos, I normally looked at them while I was at work or something, and then came rushing back to give my impressions. But this time it's pure, first impression, 12-year-old reactions. Let's go. So, patch 1.4 is the end of a ranked season, and the start of a new ranked season, the Season of Fortune, which is honestly pretty cool. Maybe I'll do like a Misfortune climb, thanks to the... sorry for the right-clicking. It's a really bad habit when I'm on my computer doing nothing, and I gotta click. Probably from all the League of Legends playing where I just spam right click. But yeah, so this is the new Season of Fortune. We are going to get some balance changes. They made some dev notes here to start here. Many of the card changes in this patch, particularly the rework level 1s, are part of a more focused effort to address issues or opportunities across several groups of cards. Epics, Freljords, and Steal from Deck effects, which I think is really fantastic that they're finally addressing Pilfered Goods and the Steal from Deck cards. Those cards were, in my opinion, incredibly toxic to a competitive level. First off, they were too cheap. That's one of the most, many of the times, because if you're playing in competitive environment, there's very few cards you don't care to steal from your opponent, and because you can discount those cards at 2 mana, the card advantage and just value of that is pretty nutty in a game like Runeterra. Like getting a 1-mana Mystic Shot, or in some cases even a 2-mana or 0-mana Mystic Shot from your opponent. It's now your card, your opponent. That's like one less Mystic Shot your opponent can play, which you can now use that to your advantage as well by working around these kind of the probabilities and whatnot with your own with your opponent's cards. Maybe they have, now that they only have 2 in their deck, since you stole 1, you can maybe think that they won't have the 3rd copy or something like that. You get there's a lot of value and inherent positives from that kind of mechanic, and it's actually not even that bad of a card, which I think is the most important aspect of it. If it wasn't as competitive, if it was more memey, maybe, or more combo driven, it might not be as negative, but it's just a very, in my opinion, one of the most toxic elements of the game, and personally a reason that I slowed my play. It's just very unfun. I don't think, personally, I know I'm saying this a lot, but in my personal opinion, I feel like a mechanic such as Pilfered Goods is almost never going to be fun to play against. It's only ever going to be fun to play as, which I think is a very bad design flaw with that mechanic. Like, no matter what situation, you're rarely ever going to feel enjoyment and satisfaction and fun playing against someone stealing cards from your deck in any capacity, really. The cards have to be almost 100% trash tier uncompetitive, so that even if they're being played, your opponent's taking a huge risk in their deck building. So that's just the way that I personally think about the cards. They're not really I don't know, I feel like it's hard to make them fun to play against in any capacity. They might be hilarious at first, right? When the cards first came out, a lot of people were kind of throwing them, or kind of thinking, pushing them to the side. I mean, Burn was kind of on the top of everyone's minds at the time. This was when Burn was running the meta, making it so that Pilfered Goods didn't really get as much work in. So they kind of pushed it aside mentally. But once people started realizing just how valuable they are, like you could throw in the black market merchant and pilfered goods into almost any competitive deck, or not any competitive, but most Bilgewater competitive decks, and get good value out of them. Like you're stealing valuable cards from them. So that's just my opinion of the mechanic. I really am curious. I can't wait to see what they do to maybe adjust them. If they actually did find a way to make it fun for both players, I think that's, if they manage to make that happen, that's just genius level balancing on Riot's side. But yeah, let's go ahead and jump straight into this. Before we do, I'm going to go ahead and early ask you to leave a like if you're enjoying this type of content. Really helps out the channel and the growth of the channel. And of course, if you want more Runeterra content, hit that subscribe button and bell notification. I also do, on Sundays is a variety card game day. Sometimes I just play Runeterra, but other times I'll play other card games like Yugioh. And if I end up getting into other card games besides Runeterra and Yugioh, that's the day that I'll be on. So if you like card games in general, you could also consider subscribing for that content. But yeah, let's go ahead and jump straight into it. So the new game mode, Gauntlet, is releasing as well. So Gauntlets are limited time competitive modes with unique deck building rules. Competitive mode. I like that. One of the reasons I never played Expedition was because there wasn't it didn't feel competitive. The Gauntlet will open every Friday through Monday through each weekend, featuring a single format from the Gauntlet rotation. The first Gauntlet will be using standard deck building rules as we test drive the tech, and then a second type of Gauntlet joins the rotation on July 3rd and will challenge you to build a deck no more than one card. Okay. In addition to the XP based on number of wins, everyone who takes on a particular Gauntlet format will receive a special icon, while those who make it to 7 wins will earn an exclusive Gauntlet Conqueror icon. In the future, we plan to add more exclusive rewards and improve Gauntlet mode overall. Interesting. And then we have the ranked rewards plus new season. So ranked is getting disabled today. Unfortunately, I didn't manage to get to diamond. I was kind of hoping to get to diamond. I really like the diamond icon personally. I'm not sure which one I like better, but the green for the platinum icon just kind of sketch. I don't like that at all. But you know, I ended up getting addicted to Persona 4. That's now on Steam. So I was going to try and climb to diamond yesterday, but then I literally played Persona 4 all day. I just couldn't help myself. I'm a terrible addict. Masters LP update. This was talked about as well. They are going to be implementing a LP system in Masters as opposed to right now in Masters, for those unaware. Basically what the number for the Masters tier players is your rank compared to other Masters. So if you're like 200, then that means you're in the top 200 players, and the goal is to get it down to, you know, the top 10 or, you know, number 1. But I think they're changing it to being an ELO system, so now your number will represent what ELO you are. Champion updates, Darius. Ooh, he's got 6 health instead of 5. We're increasing Darius' health at level 2 to make him more... Oh, at level 2. Interesting. To make him more durable and consistent, increasing the payoff for meeting his level up condition and giving Noxus aggro decks a more appealing top end option. I like that. A little small, like a small tweak, because if you give him a big tweak, then Darius can feel too overwhelming. No pun intended. So I like that. Just a small tweak. Anivia. Ooh. When compared to other similar champions like Nautilus, same cost, or Karma, same level up condition, Anivia's power level and kit weren't quite matching up outside of very specific strategies. A cost adjustment should help her see more effective and widespread use. Interesting, I like that. Because like, you want the Enlightened effect, but it might be worth it to drop an early game Anivia now, so we'll see how that goes. That's just another cost update. Braum. Oh. We're looking to preserve what players liked about Braum's old design while adjusting him to have healthier gameplay patterns that are also better to fit more Freljord decks. While his cost has increased, his new baseline power and access to a Mighty Poro at level 1 should make him more widely usable. Similarly, adjusting his level up stat boost should improve. Yeah, giving him 1 power makes him a lot more threatening. You can challenge so many units now. The first time I survived damage, summon a Mighty Poro. Ooh. Yeah, damn. They gave Braum a big tweak. A big tweak. Oh man. Time to play some Vlad Braum again. I feel like that might be enough to kind of make the deck a little bit more viable competitively. And then his level up condition is 2/6. So like this guy gives you 2 units when he survives damage. He's got regen, he's got challenger, and he can actually pick apart your opponent's board. Very small, but you know, a lot of times when you're playing Braum, you're combining him with things like Braum's signature spell that gives 3/3 to a damaged unit. I forget what it's called, or you're giving him maybe transfusion or something. You can take a lot of trades with Braum now. This is actually, I think this is a huge buff. This is gonna be wild. Holy moly. I'm excited to play some Braum. I'm a huge fan of Vladimir and Braum in general, and both of those champions have been given some recent love, so I'm excited. Super Mega Death Rocket costs 1 mana instead of 2. That's interesting. Pretty interesting. I think that's a good change. Like Lux lasers are 0 to compare. This does a little bit more than Lux lasers, but well, I don't know. Like Lux lasers being 0 mana, like this is probably just a good change because like Lux lasers you can generate a ton of and get a lot of value off of. So having Jinx get a similar payoff with her spell, I think is pretty nice. Followers, oh boy. Oh, so they're buffing the scouts. So what was the 6 mana that gives all of your attacking allies fearsome? I forget what her. Man, I forget her name. She's one of the best Demacia cards. So now they're giving this card a little buff. Genevieve? I don't know. Has stiff competition at her cost, and we'd like to give her. I'd like her to be a bit more generally appealing, so she's getting a straightforward stat boost. I like that. 4/4 was kind of weak, so I think that's a really good adjustment. She's definitely gonna see a lot more play now. She's basically the scout version of the elusive card that buffs everything else, so that's pretty nice. All right, sweet. Okay. Whew. I think they're just changing it to fast. Yeah, that's good. We like the idea of Unyielding Spirit's Dream, making an immortal unit, but it's definitely been contentious, and it was ultimately resulting in some toxic gameplay patterns. When it comes to new context, we typically want to allow players some time to solve for metagame problems with existing tools. Hell, we think it's a big part of the fun of card games. In this case, that played a part in us not initially changing Unyielding Spirit, but we ultimately feel the card is too prone to causing frustrating results. I agree. This is probably the healthiest way to change this card. Basically, you allow it to be responded to. You can deny this now, which I think is a huge boon. Ionia just getting much stronger. Ionia is just such a great region. You have so many powerful tools in Ionia. But now this can be denied. You can potentially kill the unit. Like if Lux is if they're trying to cast this to level up Lux, she only has 5 HP, so you can cast a Get Excited Mystic Shot on her. 8 mana is pretty much all of your mana at that end of the game, so you can just cast a Mystic Shot, Get Excited, kill the Lux before the Unyielding Spirit goes off. I love this change, bringing interaction into the aspect, or bringing more interaction into this big, just powerful card, right? Like, if this resolves, you get so much payoff for it, and it's incredibly difficult to deal with a card that has Unyielding Spirit. So this is going to create a lot more interactivity between both players. You now have to be cautious when they have 8 mana so that you don't give them freedom to actually play this. So really good change. Really, I love it. All right, so Basilisk Rider. The Allegiance card for Noxus gets a health boost. I really like that. Basilisk Rider didn't quite incentivize Noxus Allegiance strategies well enough. Similarly, many aggressive Noxus decks are ignoring more expensive Noxus units in favor of burn or utility cards from other regions, and we want more tools for Noxus aggro decks, which I think is a pretty good idea. Allegiance cards in general are usually pretty strong, and I think the health buff will make a big difference, because if you get his Allegiance, he's going to be a 6/4. A 4 mana 6/4. That could actually put a lot of pressure on your opponent. I'm really curious to see if this brings forth any big Noxus, just Noxus aggro decks. I think this could be a game changer. These changes so far are pretty solid. All right. Old Captain Decimate is meant to be a late game finisher against slow decks, but discarding your hand and requiring cards in hand to do anything was a bit too high variance for that role, so we've adjusted this effect to simply create. Oh, he might actually be playable. He just creates decimates in your hand. They're not fleeting, they're not anything. You could just create 3 decimates. You could use them for anything. Whew, that is a huge change. This thing's gonna... Captain Farron, oh my lord. I think he could be useful now. 8 mana, 8/8 is a powerful unit. He's got Overwhelm. I think Captain Farron might be a strong finisher for some Noxus decks. Aurora Borealis, 2 steep cost for its immediate impact, 6 mana now. I actually think this is a pretty great change. I'm actually curious to see if this actually impacts the Poro decks, because Poro decks have been kind of lackluster. I've seen some concepts with Poro Lux because of this card. I think that actually could be pretty interesting if we see more of that. Poro Herder. Oh, what? The company are changing Sabram. We're adjusting Poro Herder. Cost goes down to 2 mana, and he's going from a 3/4 to a 2/3. Poro deck's a more appealing on-curve option. When I'm summoned, draw 2 Poros. When I'm summoned, draw a Poro if you have a Poro ally. So he's only drawing 1 Poro, but they want a 2 mana play. A 2 mana 2/3 is not too bad, I don't think. I wonder if I'm actually really curious if Braum Vladimir will incorporate a Poro package now. That's actually kind of interesting. Oh. She Who Wanders. Play. All followers with 4 or less power in play and in hand, obliterate them. One of the OG bombs in lower back beta. She Who Wanders has seen better days. We think she could use a boost when it comes to being a huge game-shaking bomb for niche decks. So we're adding regen. There's actually very few cards with regeneration, so I think this is a pretty neat change. It doesn't kind of conflict with too many of the other late game bombs by doing the same thing, right? If they just gave her Overwhelm, that would be like that would be too similar. So they're giving her like a niche role by giving her regeneration, which I think is pretty neat. I think that's a really neat balancing decision, making it so that each card kind of feels unique in its own way, even if it's not necessarily competitive. Yes, They Who Endure, thank God. I fucking hate this card so much. A cost increase was hugely needed for this card. This card was just way too powerful at 6 mana. Yeah, with this change, we want to preserve that payoff while allowing more time for opposing plans to develop. Yeah, like seeing a They Who Endure drop at turn 6 after your opponent just spammed a crap load of spiders or like Shadow Owls units that die. Oh, that was so rough. And then it also made this really awkward situation where you don't even want to kill it, because if your opponent has played Callista will just start spawning They Who Endures. So that kind of that didn't feel too great. Though I do think I think the 1/1 actually kind of prevents Callista from doing that. Now that I think about it. So unless you've killed other units, then Callista doesn't have to worry about it. So I forgot that it doesn't count the buff as part of the initial unit. So Sentence of 7 mana 1/1. Another card that's like a 4/4 will override that. So, but yeah, even still without that change, like it was really hard to deal with a 6-drop They Who Endure, especially with the next turn likely resulting in a what's it called? Kill a unit to deal to Nexus. Don't remember the name of the card, but it was yeah, I don't know why I'm forgetting card names all of a sudden. Like I pretty much had all of them memorized, and now all of a sudden I'm just blanking on every single one of them. But yeah, that card that costs 6 mana, kill a unit to deal its power to the enemy, to anything really. So they who endure at like 15 power, you could just deal 15 to the enemy nexus with very little interaction. So those two cards combined, like this was very much needed. Oh boy, Ren Shadowblade. So oh. So he's going from 8 mana to 4, 6 power to 3. So he's a 4 mana 3/3 with quick attack. I like that. It doesn't conflict with Yasuo, because Yasuo is a 4 mana 4/4. This is actually when the enemy summons a follower, grant it ephemeral. So that used to be like a late game powerful. It was actually pretty trash, because at that stage in the game your opponent already has a board built up, so granting a new unit ephemeral could most of the time just not really be worth it, which I think they mentioned here. The strength of Ren's ult effect warranted a sizable mana cost, which left the card tough to build around and not fun to play against. We fully redesigned it with the goal of giving ephemeral decks more options for units that could be played to set up future plays. So now he's going to summon a Shadow Fiend, or is it create a Shadow Fiend in hand on Nexus Strike. So that's I really like this card now. This card might actually be worth playing. Maybe. It gives like Shadow Fiends are. Oop, I can't do anything. Shadow Fiend 4/3. This is a really powerful card. It actually still kind of feels flavorful to the card as itself. Ren Shadowblade. Like when you think about it, creating a Shadow Fiend in your hand kind of makes sense. So I like this a lot. Really good change for this card, and I'm really interested to see what kind of decks come out as a result. Then we have J Madara, or no, the Naruto in me. Don't know what that was about. J Madarda. There we go. When I'm targeted and I survive, draw 1. So yeah, so that was the old text. He was elusive, and then when he's targeted, draw 1. But now he's not elusive, and he's got to be targeted and survive. But he goes down to 6 mana, and he loses 2 HP. Jay's line of text is really exciting as a build-around possibility, but his cost and stat profile often made it feel like a trap to do so. We're adjusting him across the board with the goal of making it the dream more consistent and reliable. So when I'm targeted and survive. Oh, so I think that still means you can just target him, right? Because like if you target him with a buff, he's still surviving, even though you're not like dealing any damage. So I think that can still work out. I like that. He's not elusive anymore either, so this could be a pretty good card for some of the Piltover decks. Maybe a Jinx deck could actually work here. I'm not sure about Jinx, but I'm trying to think. There's a lot of trying to think of cards that actually target your own units that you would want to play with this. If I can't remember the name of cards before, we're not going to be thinking too much, but yeah, I like this change. Pretty solid. Oh my goodness, they actually nerfed the Escaped Abomination. Cool. That is probably a good idea. 4 mana 4/3, or the 2 mana 4/3. The 4/4 was just too good. Just too good. But now you can actually trade with it a little bit more effectively. It'll be extremely difficult to come back against aggressive Shadow Isles decks if they get off to a quick start and you fall behind early. Very, very true. We want Escaped Abomination to feel a bit more answerable in the early game, especially in the context of Curse Keeper, Blighted Caretaker curves that create a large board advantage while contributing to synergies. Yeah, I agree. I think this is a very important change. Making it volatile to die against 3 damage spells like Get Excited and Grasp, I think is pretty important. So I like the changes. Oh, They buffed the Harrowing. Ooh. Meant to be a splashy finish for Shadow House decks, but it's been struggling to find a home. Oh boy, that's... You can now, at round 10, play this with a deny backup. That might be pretty massive. That's a huge change. And you can even play this around earlier if you want as well. Ooh boy. And you can play this on round 6 if you bank spell mana. So that... Oh. The ephemeral mid-range deck that I made a video for not too long ago. Might have to pick that one back up. Dredgers? Oh. Whew, I like that. Deep decks have been generally in a good spot, but their tools for creating early game presence have been stronger than we want for a deck that can sink you in the late game. This judgment should make sure deep decks are playing from behind a bit more often. Thank you. 2 mana, or this guy being 2 power was honestly quite insane for a deck like they described that wants to be late game. Like, this is a late game focused deck. You should not be overwhelming your opponents early on. I like this change. I think it's pretty important. Or I think it's pretty solid. And important, I guess. I mean, you're nerfing the sea monsters. So... Okay, Mind Meld. Ooh. This round, set all allies' power and health to the number of spells you've played this game. Mind Meld was simply too costly for its effect. I wonder if this will see play with 7 mana. Power and health to the number of... Okay, oh, okay, at the start. This round. I didn't see any part of it that said this round, because I wasn't reading the first, 2 words. I was wondering if this was a permanent bump. That would be kind of insane, I guess. But this could be... This is supposed to be like that finisher. I wonder if this would ever... I don't know. It would be kind of fun, but it's far too situational for competitive use for the most part. Because like you have to generate a lot of spells, and then there's way too many ways for your opponent to just disrupt this. Oh, that's a big buff. This is actually a very big buff. Petty Officer to 2 health. He no longer dies to like board wipe, such as Withering Wail or Twisted Fate red card. That's a huge buff. I think this will... I wonder if this will push barrel decks a little bit forward. They've been pretty good, but they haven't been quite there yet. This might be a good change, or an important change to make that happen. Alright, I see the text at the bottom of my screen here. Oh, you don't see it on the stream or the video yet. There it is. Steal from deck cards. Let's see what they did. Alright, let's see what they said first. Drawing from the enemy deck has been a contentious mechanic in Rise of Tides, and we're making a change to address some of the frustrations players have. First, let's call the effect by the new keyworded name Nab, which has the important difference of drawing from the bottom of the enemy deck. Ooh, we've been saying this, and this has been one of the changes recommended. Drawing from the bottom of the deck so that Freljord decks don't get completely fucked. And also cards that you wouldn't normally see coming to your hand, so you don't feel as bad, right? Like if they steal your 1 copy of Ruination, now you know that you probably weren't going to see that 1 copy of Ruination, even though it sucks that it's going to be used against you still. It doesn't feel as bad, where previously it was like, fuck dude, I was about to draw that Ruination, man, that would have been game changing. So that's a big change. Additionally, the Freljord buffs, right? A lot of times if you were playing Freljord, you could buff the top cards of your deck. That's one of the main mechanics of Freljord. The Omen Hawk, for example, the 1 mana bird, buffs the top 2 cards, and then Pilfered Goods decks could just start stealing them if they wanted to. So major change, really powerful to deal with that, or to not just hard counter Freljord. Previously, these effects were unintentionally sharp matchups, or caused unintentional sharp matchups with any deck looking to manipulate the top of their deck, particularly Freljord buffs, as we just said. We also understand that it could feel particularly frustrating to have the card you were about to draw used against you. Man, they're right on the spot, right on the money with some of these frustrations that we literally just said. Used against you regardless of there being no general statistical difference in drawing from the bottom. As a minor note, this change will also prevent nab effects from filtering your opponent closer to drawing their champions. Yep, that's another change. Some of them had it because pilfered goods didn't allow you to draw champions. Stealing from the enemy deck put them closer to their next champions. So, as a minor note, this change will also prevent nab effects from. Oh yeah, we just. Okay. We'll be keeping a close eye on the impact of these changes and are open to making further adjustments. Effects that draw from the enemy deck are now drawn from the bottom. New keyword nab, draw a non-champion from the enemy deck. Alright. Black Market Merchant, going to 1 HP. When you draw an enemy card, reduce its cost by 1. Plunder, nab 1. You want to preserve the merchant's role as a linchpin, but make it easier for your opponents to remove and harder for the players to build and protect multiple copies in the back line. Yeah, this was true. If your opponent had 3 of these on the field, the value swing was just so powerful. Like, you could start getting like 0 mana nonsense, or like 2 mana Grasp of the Undying from your opponent, 6 mana Ruination from your opponent, and other powerful, like, just insane effects. Like, it was very, very just reliable and valuable, you know, like just that cost reduction is so massive. All right, let's see what they did. Pilfered goods, nab 1 more when I'm summoned. So they actually they didn't change them. They just keyworded them. They only changed the merchant. I don't think I'm a fan. This card combination's still gonna be disgusting. It's a 2 mana. Okay, I would have loved to see even a minor change. Like, just give me a mana cost increase, or like make it fast, right? Like, draw 2 at 2 mana is just it requires plunder. Don't get me wrong, but like many of these decks run Warning Shot, which I think that's what it's called. Warning Shot, 0 mana, deal 1 to the enemy nexus. Like, a lot of effects that deal plunder or can proc plunder pretty easily, such as Make It Rain, red card from Twisted Fate. Like, so it's in most cases a 2 mana draw 2, which I think is just still too valuable. And then even still, like, early game pilfered goods combos, like, you could still get them Black Market Merchant set up. Maybe it'll be enough. I mean, they are trying to take it slow. This was something that I have praised about Riot in the past, where they don't jump into just gutting a deck, but I still hold by the idea that this mechanic in general, like, no matter how competitive or uncompetitive it is not a mechanic that's fun to play against. In almost every situation, is it unfun to play against. I just can't like foresee, like, maybe I'm being too narrow-minded, but in almost all cases, I just can't see a situation where this mechanic ever becomes fun to play against. And I think that's the biggest problem with it. I don't, like, I'm okay with stuff being good, and like even something like the past, was it the Unkindled Spirit, I believe it's called, that they just nerfed as well. Unyielding Spirit. Why did I think Unkilled? But yeah, Unyielding Spirit. Even this card, like, sure, it's not quite as fun to play against, but like, sometimes it's satisfying to kind of outplay your opponent's unkillable card. Like, I've had some situations where I've managed to do that, and it felt pretty satisfying to beat them out, and it was in some ways still fun. Like, the game still ended up being fun in some capacity. Don't get me wrong, that card is just at least was just as frustrating at times, but there was still moments when it could be fun to figure out how to play around it. But this mechanic just doesn't feel fun ever. Like, you either get all of your good cards stolen from you, or you don't, and they suck, right? Excuse me. Sorry about that. I had a little, I don't know. Sorry about that. Just doing body things, I suppose. Anyway, yeah, like, it's too, I think it's too, like, variant, right? Either they steal all of your good cards and it's frustrating, or they steal all your bad cards and you just play the game out like normal. And like, because, like, in a competitive environment, you're playing good decks, like, quote unquote, like, you're supposedly playing good decks. Like, I think that's one of the main things, right? So, like, if you're playing good cards in your deck, then they're stealing good cards, right? They're stealing Mystic Shots, they're stealing Get Excited, they're stealing, you know, Will of Ionia, they're stealing all of these really good cards that you normally didn't have to play around. And it's really frustrating to have to play around your own deck, especially at such a small variance, right? Like, you now have to keep in mind, like, holy crap, they could have a 3-mana Deny or a 3-mana Will of Ionia. Sure, it's like a small, like, 1% chance, but, like, they could have it now, and it's, I don't know, it's just a very frustrating mechanic, especially if they steal your like, your one-offs. So, like, I've had I played a Lux Thresh deck. I think I showcased this in my Lux Thresh video, which I recommend checking out because it was a really awesome game. My opponent stole my single copy of Unyielding Spirit and put it on his Sejuani, and it was, I actually raged so hard that I messed up and, like, misplayed. I didn't, like, hard rage. I don't normally, like, you know, throw keyboard rage, rah, rah, but I tilted really, really hard. I was like, holy shit, dude, he stole, like, it's a one copy, like, one off in my deck. And then it also felt bad because I was about to draw that card too for myself, for my own usage. So that, like, that thing they talked about up here where it just feels bad even though statistically there's no difference. Like, it was horrendous, and I tilted and I made a misplay where I swarmed my board with a Thresh, so my Lux actually got obliterated at the end of the thing because I had a leveled up Thresh. He pulls Lux from the deck, but I already attacked with all of my units, so the pulled Lux gets destroyed. Luckily, I managed to overcome that and still win, but, like, it was just, I almost lost just out of pure tilt. It was so frustrating. It's like, even though I still managed to win that match, like, I did not have fun winning that match. And I think that's a critical part about this mechanic. And I think it needs, I don't know, like, 2-mana draw 2, I think is just too good. Like, this should be fast. Pilfered Goods should be a fast speed card, or it should be 3-mana. Because as it is right now, it's just too consistent. Just far too consistent. You can steal cards from your enemy deck really consistently, and then discount them. Like, I don't know. I don't like this at all. I think they should have done, like, a small tweak. I'm okay with Yordle Grifter, and I really like this change as well. But Pilfered Goods, I think, needed to be adjusted in some capacity. But maybe I'm jumping to conclusions. Maybe the nab being from the bottom of the deck and this change to the black market merchant will actually be enough to just make the deck feel a lot better to play against. Who knows? But I personally do think that this should have been changed, just a little bit. Anyway, that's enough kind of rambling about that. Let's look into the last few bits. I think that's the end of the cards, because now it says card text consistency. Since launch, we've had a lot of good feedback regarding consistency in card text, and we'll continue to make improvements. Various usage, consistency, fleeting, IC, create, shuffle, swapping next round to next round start, enemies versus the enemy nexus, swapping written out numbers to digits where possible, rules text on the following cards. Okay, so I really like this. Like, this is something that they've definitely had to work on. Card text, kind of transparency. Like, this was something, as a Yu-Gi-Oh player, this is something I see quite a lot, is making sure that your card text is consistent across all of your cards, as well as making sure that it's easily readable. Yu-Gi-Oh is one of the worst, kind of the worst card games when it comes to that. They have some of the, as if any of you know Yu-Gi-Oh, especially more modern Yu-Gi-Oh, like the paragraphs upon paragraphs of effects and shit, they've definitely ran into some annoying issues when it comes to being consistent with their card text. But I'm really glad that they're trying to tune this and fix this up. Pretty important for a card game. All right, we got boards. Lee Sin's Iron Will. They're trying to get more money out of me. Why do they make such good cosmetics? Oh no. No, they made a Von Yip. They can't. Come on. Dude, I don't have... I just can't not buy this. Like, there's no way. I have to buy this Guardian. Like, it's just how it works. Oh man. Oh no. These are good card backs. I have to get the Misfortune one. You can't not get sexy waifu redhead Misfortune. And Lee Sin's pretty badass as well. Emotes. I like this one. I actually like this one a lot. Vi's pretty good too, but I really like this one. Their cosmetics are so good. They know what they're doing. Oh, Lee Sin, Blind Monk card back. Yo, that's nice. They're doing bundles now. I love it. I love it. And then expeditions. I don't really care too much. Vault cap plus bot account bans. While we're always working to protect our players from botting and similar activity, we generally won't share specifics. However, this patch we're making a minor change to the Vault as part of these efforts. Recently, we saw a spike in botting attempts. I didn't even know about that. So, yeah, bonus with the infinite bonus capsules offered past level 13. As part of our ongoing efforts to combat this activity, we're capping at 25. Yeah, so I guess that's okay if you manage. Like they're saying here, humans probably can't get past or up to that too easily. So miscellaneous Teemo level up effects polish. Nice. Players will no longer always act first and play versus AMAT. Added some under the hood safety measures so players can creatively format deck names without potentially causing crashes. Arena Battlecaster, but Vi would sometimes. Okay. Well, this is a huge patch. Honestly, one of the largest patches that we've had. They've reworked a lot of stuff. Touched up on some of the lower played champions. I really like this patch. I'm excited to jump in and play some more again. Definitely going to be playing some Braum. Definitely going to be playing some more Harrowing. Still going to be tilted off the face of the planet when I get stuff stolen from me, but at least it won't feel as bad as it did before. And I'm pretty excited to mess around with the patch 1.4 Season of Fortune. So I hope you guys are as well. If you are, let me know your thoughts on the patch below in the comments. Am I the only one who gets just as frustrated when it comes to the Pilfered's mechanic? the nav mechanic now that we have to call, or now that it has a keyword. I don't know, like, just like in this, like, design, like in the idea, you know, like design wise, it just feels like a type of mechanic that, you know, is incredibly, like, almost 100% impossible to balance in a fun way for the person being stolen from. That's just the way that I feel. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm just not, I don't know, maybe I'm thinking about it too hard. You get the badass misfortune. I mean, they're making it up, right? They gave us some of the coolest card backs and everything. Definitely gonna probably have to pick up some of those. But yeah, so without further ado, I think that's gonna close it out for today's video. Don't really have any more else to say. So if you enjoyed, like I said earlier, please leave a like. It would really help out the channel. And subscribe for more Legends of Runeterra content. Reminder that it's Tuesdays, Fridays, and Sundays will be all my upload days. So next Friday will be another Runeterra video, likely playing with some of the new decks after the patch goes live. So thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Later!